Good morning, Year 10. I hope you're well and having a lovely day. This is Mr. Caesar welcoming you to today's lesson. Please could you write down the date and the title? The title is Speechwriting, Presenting a Speech. For your do now, I would like you to answer the following questions. What makes for a good speech, apart from content? Think about politicians or celebrities or even teachers that you know. How do they maintain your interest? And what makes certain people better or worse than others? You have 5 minutes to do this. Please pause the video now. Okay, so these are some suggested answers. Gestures. So gesturing with your hands can be a way to support your points and capture people's attention. Facial expressions. So changing the expression of your face to reflect your mood or emotion. Sometimes it may be better to maintain a stoic facial expression if you're in a very serious meeting. However, a lot of the time it is very helpful to adapt your facial expression to suit the tone or the mood of your speech and to emphasize your points. And so that links onto tone. How you speak, how you vary your voice is really important. If you spoke in a monotonous voice, that would get very boring very quickly. So it's important to adapt the tone of your voice to reflect your mood and also just vary the pitch a bit to keep your audience interested. Volume. So sometimes it can be useful to talk loudly, sometimes it can be useful to talk a bit more quietly. It's another way that you maintain the attention of your audience. Movement on stage. So this is something you don't want to overdo, but it can be really handy and helpful to engage the interest of your audience if you move about a bit where it's appropriate to do so. However, if you're stood at a lectern or a podium, sometimes it could look a bit strange if you started wandering around. But in certain situations, it can be helpful to move, even if it's just a few steps forward and back. Eye contact. So eye contact is key. Looking at specific people in your audience is really effective. Emphasis on particular words or phrases. So by emphasizing the key words or phrases, it helps get your point across really clearly. Pausing for effect. So after you've said something significant or at the end of a section, it's really helpful to pause to give your audience a chance for the message to sink in. Okay, so with regards to the previous slide, please make sure you have written everything down if you didn't get it already. So task 1, I would like you to write down the highlighted words. So body language and posturing research shows that when we communicate feelings and attitudes, only a small percentage of our overall message comes from the words we use. 55% of our message comes from body language, especially from movements of the small muscles around the eye, which can convey shock, disbelief, doubt, or disgust. 8% of our message comes from our tone of voice, and only 7% of our message is conveyed by the words we use. So by highlighted, I actually mean red. So please can you write down the red words in the paragraph? And then can you move on? Okay, so for task 2, I would like you to watch 2 clips. And as you are watching them, you may have to pause quite often. I would like you to fill in the worksheet, which has been uploaded on class charts, by considering the gestures, facial expressions, use of pause and tone of each candidate. So we're watching the clips, we're filling in on class charts. You'll be able to download a chart which has the 2 names, Barack Obama and Donald Trump, and in each column you're writing down gestures, facial expressions, pause and tone for each candidate and comparing the 2. So please can you go onto YouTube to watch the 2 clips now so you can fill in your worksheet. And that should take you about 10 minutes. Okay, so these are your suggested answers for task 2. If you didn't get any of them, please can you write them down. So in Barack Obama's Yes We Can, he pauses frequently to draw attention, looks around to the whole audience, finger points for emphasis, gestures up to the moon, uses hands central and forward to show intended direction, in contrast to side and wide, for pastoral things they don't want to do. Donald Trump's Make America Great Again use of circled finger and thumb to emphasize key words, slows down, pauses for claps, circling hands to show everyone involved, gets louder as he moves to the end of the speech, two hands as he gets to the end. So like I said, please write down anything you didn't get, and once you've done that, you can move on. Okay, task 3. You are now going to see how the practice of good body language works by annotating the 2 extracts from the speeches with the gestures that you think would go with the words, and then having a go at delivering the speeches yourselves. First of all, you need to annotate the 2 speeches with the gestures, facial expressions, pauses and tone you would use to deliver the speech. So for this, you need to reflect on what you just saw from the clips and then try and apply it yourselves to the extracts that you've been given, both of which are on class charts once more. Then have a go at presenting one of the speeches to a member of your family or to a friend on a video call. So you have 15 minutes to both annotate the speeches and have a go at presenting it. So this is an example of an annotated speech. America, we have come so far. Pause for dramatic effect. We have seen so much, but there is so much more to do. Emphasize every word. Speak slowly and firmly. Voice rises to a crescendo by the end. So tonight, let us ask ourselves, hand on chest, if our children should live to see the next century. And the final thing I would like you to do is to complete the quiz. So you'll have a link on class charts. Could you please complete it now? As I've put on class charts as well, it's really important that you're completing the quizzes. And now, as a department-wide policy, we will be contacting home for the people who aren't completing the quiz on a regular basis. So if you haven't done so already, now is the time to do the quiz. If you do it today and you haven't done it so far, I'm going to take it on faith that you're going to start doing it now. If you don't do it today and you haven't done it so far, I will be contacting home next week. So please make sure, as an absolute priority, you do complete the quiz today. That should take you about 15 minutes, and then you've just got another minute on this PowerPoint after you've done the quiz. Okay, so presenting or delivering a speech goes far beyond the content of it. You need to be aware of how you are engaging or losing the audience's attention through your body language. Okay, so thank you for your work this week on speeches. Next week we will look at how to use humour in a speech, which is a really effective technique. So thank you once again. I hope you found today interesting and helpful, and I will see you next week. So have a lovely weekend and see you next time.